Hello WBSE. I have something completely different for you tonight. I just got this in a sample from a generous friend, and this is Michter's Toasted Barrel Rye. There's a lot of hype out there about this right now, so once I got a hold of a little bit of it, I decided I would share a little insight with those of you who may be looking for it, and maybe you can make a decision about whether you want to pursue it or not before you spend your money. A couple of things about this. This is barrel strength whiskey, and it's also, although it doesn't say so on the bottle, it is also single barrel. It is matured in 2 stages. It's put into the first new oak barrel, then that is kiln dried wood. Then the entire barrel is emptied into a second barrel for double maturation, and that barrel is air dried and toasted. But it is also a new white oak barrel. So they're using double new oak barrels to do a double maturation, and it's very unusual to finish in a new barrel. Usually when you finish, you're using a previously used barrel that had wine or rum or some other spirit in it. So this is, as far as I can find, the first time that double new barrel maturation has been used on a rye whiskey. So let's get right to the tasting. This has been sitting here for, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes. On the nose, you get a very deep and rich honey and vanilla. But there's way more spice in the nose than what you would normally get. There's a little bit of the floral note that you would expect on a rye, but in this case, the floral notes are almost smashed down by the spice. There's just a wealth of cinnamon, clove, and nutmeg. One of the more spicy noses I've ever had. For it being, what is this particular one? It is 108.2 proof. For it being a higher proof, you don't really notice it much on the nose at all. Just a deep and rich nose. I love it. It's very, very good. Let's see what it tastes like now. Again, it's very spicy. You get more wood notes. You still carry through with this very silky sweetness of the honey and vanilla. But there's a consistency to the spice throughout it. On a lot of whiskeys, the spice will hit you late in the palate, or it'll hit the tip of your tongue and fade. Or you won't get the spice really until the finish. This whiskey is very different from that in that you're going to be getting the cinnamon and the clove, allspice and nutmeg and all those kinds of things all the way through from the nose to the palate and to the finish quite evenly. It's really, really rich. The barrel proof really helps it. On the second sip, after now that I've gotten used to the heavy spice and can kind of overlook that, there's a really nice cherry note, maybe just a tiny bit of orange also, but definitely some cherry in there. And the oak really stands out along with that. The finish continues to be woody and spicy. It is a little more edgy than most ryes that I've had because of the strong consistency of the spice. I usually find ryes considerably smoother than bourbons and a lot more floral, obviously. The floral notes are definitely subdued in this, but it's not a bad thing. I really like this. It's almost stuck somewhere in between a rye and a bourbon. It's not a traditional rye, but you can still tell that it is one. But it is sort of a bridge between bourbon and rye. It's very unique, and I like it a lot. This is my first experience with it. I will say that now that I'm used to the nose after having it in my face several times, that I'm getting a little bit more floral notes out of it as I get used to the dram. All in all, I would highly recommend this. I think it is a very good whiskey. On our true 100 scale, 50 being drinkable, it's not a letter grade scale, but a 50 being drinkable, an 80 to 90 being excellent, and 90 to 100 being just absolutely top notch. I would give this a solid 84. This, I think, is probably in the top 5 ryes that I have had. My top rye that I have drank was Lock, Stock, and Barrel. And I think it's absolutely incredible. And it is in a virtual tie with the one sample of Thomas H. Handy that I have had. So those two are my top ryes, but this is not very far below for a much smaller price. I would definitely put it in my top 4 or 5. So I hope that helps you make a choice whether you'd want to invest in it. I know that it's a little bit pricey in most locales. I'm not sure whether I'll buy a bottle of it or not because I have so many ryes right now, but later on when I don't have so many, maybe I'll invest in it. It's definitely worth a drink. Hope that helps some of you. Have a good evening.